Hi everyone, it's Brian Woods here from the QTube. Thanks for joining us. I'm really excited now to share with you the second chapter of the masterclass from Tom Brown from the ICMP in London, following on from last week's first chapter. In this chapter, he'll be talking about the actual practicalities of what do you do first with the film when you start on a project, and what are the first steps within the door as a composer. During the lesson, Tom's going to be using a piece of film from our library to kind of illustrate some of his points. And that's a short documentary clip called Marco, which is available for everybody to grab and use in their practice and use within show reels and use on social media to share your work. It's available in our library. It's completely free for our members, or it's a low price if you're not a member of the QTube. And yeah, I'll put a link for that also in the description down below, and perhaps you can practice along as you listen to Tom's wonderful masterclass.
Welcome back. Okay, I'm getting into this now. I got over the scary first chapter, talking, recording, trying not to sound like David Brent, and let us now move into the next section. So you'll see on the screen we have the kind of first, I don't want to say musical topic because the first chapter was highly musical, but this is the first, I guess, practical application within your DAW potentially. So I wanted just to discuss very briefly, and I won't talk as much as I did for the first chapter. I realised I went on a long time. So I wanted to just have a look at exploring and establishing pulse, discovering the internal tempo. So for me, this is the biggest one, the biggest, I guess the biggest factor in establishing what the music will be anyway. So you might well have just had a discussion with the director or the creative team. So you might have a bit of intel or a bit of insight into what the music is or it needs to be. So for example, we're going to look at this idea in a second, but it might be that they want an 80s style track, or it might be more of a cinematic high energy thing. So even that information is going to kind of give you an inclination of what that will entail, musically speaking. However, all of that side will kind of be informed by the actual tempo, the pulse of what we're watching, and then also the music as well. So let's have a look at the slides. So I do this regardless of the project. I will watch without writing. I will resist any sort of temptation to hold down, trying to work out chords or anything like that. I think for me, and I would suggest trying this as well yourselves, is that before you think about harmony, before you think about orchestration, which is definitely something that's further along, even before thinking about like specific moments, I'm looking at pulse of the whole, just the general vibe. So what we're having, so within that we've got like moments and we've got movement as well. So those are two very strong things for me. I think musically it can be amazing, but if it doesn't fit the right tempo, the right pulse of it, then it's always going to feel off. So I do this all the time. On my first pass, I don't even watch it within the DAW. So I would just, if there's an edit or something or a scene or whatever it is, I would watch it without putting it into the DAW. It's just too tempting to start pushing keys when it's in DAW, and that means that you're not thinking about anything within a DAW, markers, decisions. What you're doing is you're just observing the pace, the feel, the vibe, and it's essentially what an audience would be watching. It's getting rid of that kind of like idea of being in a music project. But the side quest is that you might actually naturally start internally idea forming without the pressure of actually sitting down and working something out. So You can passively start thinking of ideas the more you watch it, but that's definitely a side, like a secondary thing, I guess. So what we're going to do is I'm just going to, in fact, before I jump into the project, because I've actually put the film in there now, what I'd say is first pass without a door, maybe the second, third, fourth. You can watch it as many times as you want. There's no limit, of course. The more you watch, the more you pick up things, the more you see key moments, potentially, the more you get the vibe. Generally, the more you understand the feeling, the pace, the maybe the moments of silence, maybe the moments that you definitely need to hit. We're talking about spotting, right? Generally, but it's more of a, I guess, more of a mixture of active and passive spotting, if you like. So hopefully that makes sense. I've actually got it into my door now. So let me jump to it. Here it is. It's in my door. And this is the Marco kind of trailer. And so I've put it into there. I almost always start not on bar 1. That's just me. I actually usually start on bar 3 or 5. I don't know why it's on 4. That feels very uncomfortable. Let's move it along. Okay, so once I've watched it outside of the door, I would now watch it multiple times in the door with nothing else apart from metronome. So the metronome is going to inform me what I start to internally feel what the piece should be. And maybe this has been a conversation with the creative team or the director about what kind of pace they're looking for as well. So it's going to be a two-way conversation, but if we're kind of coming at it from the point of view of us, like I say, I almost always watch and always intently watch with only the click on or the metronome first thing. That gives me a starting point of what kind of pace feel I think it should be. First thing, I try multiple tempi. So, I try it, might just try it at 120. Then I might try it at 110. And I start to try and feel what fits. This potentially could be seen as a long way round, but I'm happy to sit there and spend the time trying to get an idea of what that should sound like or what it should feel like. But it's quite nice, right? You start to see where things align. So at 120, we could watch it, and things might. This is like a side thing as well. It's like, oh, that hit nicely, and you might start to discover these happy accidents where things fit in the nice kind of spot. You also might find that you think, oh, it does fit, but it's halfway through a bar. So then you think, okay, well, can I add a 2/4 bar in there? How can I make it work? So it's not the case of just doing it and it's done. It's like, we're working at a puzzle. We're trying to fit in these pieces. And, that's how it goes. I think that's how an organic process actually helps a lot. You can feel the resistance versus the alignment. That's kind of what I was saying. Where things hit on the bar, where things don't just hit, and you can think, well, let me change. I could maybe change the tempo. If I had it at 120 and now it's at 119, now it's starting to feel like it fits with a lot of the cuts as well. So that's another thing to think about. Looking for small moments as well as the wider arc. And then the other thing that I like to do, and this is a slightly more musical thing, is not just watch it with the metronome, because that is a slightly bleepy experience, or unmusical experience. Sometimes what I like to do is do some one-note mapping as well. Maybe a sustained rhythmic motif or an idea or an ostinato or something that helps. It does the same job as the metronome, but it gives me a bit more musical kind of like intel, if you like. The other thing you can do with one-note glories is you can actually play different ones at different moments as well. So you can actually start to shape an arrangement potentially, even just by mapping out a structure of feeling of pulse. So let's jump into my logic, because I just want to show what that means. So for example, here is Marco, and I've just got it at 120, And if we just play it, there are things, this is what I do, right? I would play it with nothing apart from the metronome, such as this. Okay, you get the idea. I think that could potentially become just, not the most exciting of watch ever, but it's a really good thing to get into, because I'm not worrying about, well, no, what instruments do I use? I'm not worrying about anything apart from, when I watch this, does the pulse, does the tempo feel right? Are there moments where things align with the bars or the beats? What's the overall arc of that? And so that was at 120. Could easily watch it at 110. I'm not going to subject you to that, because that's just, we don't want to watch just me watching silence with a bleep. But that's the first thing, right? So I would do that. I would also then watch it with with all the other assets. So here we've got like the sound design, the voiceover type stuff here in this track, and I would also watch it with that, because that also will have an impact on everything else too. So I'm just trying to get a sense overall of everything. So just with the metronome, nothing else, then the metronome and the sound design if you have it, voiceover if you have it. So because that's what it's going to be at the end, right? So everything working together.
I just want to take a few minutes to interrupt and just say, if you're loving this content, please help us out. You can give a like, you can subscribe, you can hit the notification bell. Even more support, if you want to give us, would be by becoming a member of the QTube. It's a pretty low price for the huge library of unscored films and all of these masterclasses and feedback and everything that we offer. Tom will be giving feedback on those people who submitted for the Marco film, which he's using within this lesson. So you'll get that feedback very, very soon. This month we have an opportunity to submit music for an animation called The Daily Dweebs, and that closes very, very soon at the end of this month. And the feedback will be given by Carina Rivero, who also gave a masterclass here on our YouTube channel. So definitely take advantage of that free feedback opportunity if you want to improve your skills as a composer. Another great way that you can support us and actually benefit from it yourself is our referral program. Mention the QTube to other composers and help to grow our community. And we have an ability to actually register for a unique link, free of charge, of course, that we will send to you. And you can use that link, give it to your friends and contacts, perhaps fellow students or whatever. And if they use that link to sign up to the QTube, you will actually benefit financially from that. So help us to help you by growing our community and growing our channel. Anyway, back to Tom.
So that, for me, is how I start. Because if you can nail the timing, and that's the pulse in general, plus the moments of where things hit, you're halfway there. Because musically, there can be a gazillion different versions or ideas that musically hit, depending what is being asked of you in the brief. But timing is one of those where it needs to feel like it works and it's as one with the picture that it's subserving. So that's one thing. And then secondly, what you could do, and this is what I was saying about earlier, is you could program in, and this is like, again, a different way of doing it. You could program in, just make sure everything is nice and tight with the grid. You could program in something like this, where you have a rhythmic idea, and that rhythmic idea is essentially working the same as the metronome, but there's just one level more to it, and it's the idea that you can actually start to create a musical idea potentially. Now, these are placeholders, so I'm not going, this is my rhythmic track, this is what it's going to be. They are acting, or they are tools, and they are acting as guides for, well, what does 120 feel like musically? What rhythms will that feel like? And also the great thing, like I said, with the one note glories is you can add to it, you can change them. So I might have one idea for 8 bars, for example, or for 6 bars or whatever it is. Then I might either switch it out for another 4 bars, or I might layer them. So you can start to create a shape within your musical metronome, and that will help kind of give an idea, a sense of what that would feel like. So for example,
Marco, come in. You can tie the car.
right, a little bit repetitive, but that's the function of it. We're looking for something that's functional here. Now, you can kind of, when you do this, you can kind of feel where things are right, where things are wrong as well, and not wrong, but not right or wrong in that sense, but what feels like it works, what doesn't quite work. And the great thing is, you can look along the grid and you go, well, actually, maybe I could just start. Maybe I'll just start this one here, so it hits on the cut, and so that comes in. And so I'm almost passively starting to think in my head where the shape of this arrangement is going to be. So that is a really good starting point for me. I always start with the rhythm and the organization of the pulse. And so I would recommend trying that if you're stuck, or you're never sure where to start. I think it's really good to kind of work on finding a pulse like this, because you're working on multiple things at the same time. Pulse, but I'm already starting to think of arrangement. I'm already starting to think what feels like it works, what doesn't quite. I can shape something. So I'm like I said earlier, it's like a musical metronome. It's a functional thing, and I'm trying to make this metronome that is a little bit more than just bleeps feel like it has a shape to it. And then you can cut things out. You could maybe stop it where there's a moment where you think it should be silence. And again, like I said earlier, the puzzle, is what we're trying to aim to get. And so we're trying to fit all these puzzle pieces in to make it work. I'm even bringing in analogies right now. Okay, so let me check. I think that is it for this one. Hope that makes sense. And I will see you in the next one.
So thanks, Tom. Brilliant second chapter. We'll be sharing the third chapter very, very soon. Grab that Marco clip. Submit your music for the Daily Dweebs. Give us a like and subscribe, and we'll see you very soon. Thanks, everyone. Bye for now.